conversation because I've been very close to Katherine over the last 2 or 3 decades. Katherine Doepke's teaching career was in the largest school district in the state. Some of the schools were tough schools. In the classroom, Katherine was always there for the best interest of her students. They were the primary focus of her teaching. There was never any concern about her image. And I have to tell just a few stories. Frequently before concerts, it was necessary to have singers excused from their classes to do group rehearsals. On one such occasion, one of Katherine's fellow teachers said, "You're running a hell of a good program. You can have anybody from my class you want." How often do we hear that? After a boy had been kicked out of band, he was programmed into Mrs. Doepke's class. Upon arrival, the new student immediately began mouthing off and disturbing the all-boys class. To his surprise, the other boys told him, "You can't act that way in here." Says something about classroom control, doesn't it? Once at Falwell, some girls tried to move an upright piano when Katherine was out of the room. She came back just as the piano was tipping over, tried to stop it, and broke her ankle. Her choir room was on the lower level and the auditorium was on the first floor. There being no elevator in the building, 2 principals had to carry Katherine up in the wheelchair up the stairs. I think this is one time it proves the usefulness of school principals. There isn't a one of us in this room who is not proud of what some of our former students have accomplished. We like to say that student A is a conductor of X-college choir somewhere, or student Y is singing at the Met. But don't start name dropping in front of Katherine, because she can top us all. When this particular person, as a 15-year-old student at Central High School, was miles beyond his classmates, Katherine put him into an independent study program to learn theory. He was also in a group piano class where he could use the grand piano instead of the smaller electronic pianos. He also asked to borrow the music department's synthesizer to use at home to make a demo tape. School rules didn't allow him to take it home, but Katherine delivered it to his house for the intended purpose. By the way, the student's name was Nelson. Prince Nelson. Yes, that Prince. Now, you all have no doubt read the bio in the program. I'm not going to read it.
Admire and respect. And thank you, Wayne, for that splendid introduction. You really picked my friend's brains, didn't you? It's very difficult to listen to someone talk about you. One's bio is a collection of memories. I guess I feel good about my accomplishments and humbled by their recognition, but also grateful for the opportunity to do them. My career has been interesting, all the way from directing the chair of choir at my church, where my son Jack reminded me I would hand out M&Ms. I called them energy pills. All the way to the piano falling over on me in the classroom, breaking my ankle. But this award is the culmination of my career, of anyone's career. It is just wonderful. But what in the world am I doing here? What connection do I have with the renowned Melius Chrtistiansen? It's very tenuous. My church senior choir certainly sang many of his anthems. Who hasn't done Beautiful Savior? I played the pump organ in my father's church starting at age 15 and used an organ book by Melius. And oh yes, we're both Norwegians. But look at the list of previous awardees. They directed choirs of prominence, touring extensively here and abroad, cutting records and CDs, appearing at conventions. My junior high choir traveled to Waitheta and sang during the lunch break at General Mills. We also sang at the malls and in my church back when that was permissible. So the appropriate way for me to accept this prestigious award is on behalf of all the junior high, middle school, and elementary music teachers who trained the singers the rest of you enjoy directing. Thank you for recognizing our value to ACDA. We are the ones who first lit the spark of interest in singing, who discovered the gifted singers and gave them a little extra push, who instilled in all the children a love of music so that they could become educated listeners in concert halls. One of them was Freddie. You remember Freddie? He's probably a sedate Fred by now. Freddie was going through his voice change when he left my classroom. He could be your bass section leader, the one with that mellow sound that evens out the tones of the guys on either side. And Michelle, she was so shy, she'd hardly look at you, but she took piano lessons and could read notes. Now I'll bet she's the alto you depend on to true up the pitch. Oh, and Walter. Walter, the kid who should have been on Ritalin. The one who would walk across the room on top of the desks if you let him. He's your tenor soloist who has trouble sitting still during rehearsals, right? To round out the quartet, let's not forget Sandy. Even in 8th grade, she had a sweet tone, a little breathy, but just verging on a vibrato. She got to sing all the descants. Does she still do that? Well, that's junior high. Teaching for me was always a balance between frustration and hope. Hope that the power of music as an art form would motivate and endure in the lives of my students. One summer, Joyce Anderson, my friend who is with me today, Joyce, stand up quick and take a look. Wow. My colleague, choir buddy, and so on. One summer, Joyce and I drove to Evanston to attend a seminar at Northwestern University. I've never forgotten what our leader, a music psychologist, stated, that his research showed music is so powerful a force in our lives that it will survive inadequate, even poor teaching and ill-managed classrooms. So whenever I had a bad day, I would remember the power of music. Music touches feelings that words cannot. When Minneapolis still had 14 junior high schools, we choral music teachers would meet every Thursday after school to share plans, ideas that worked, and praise or gripe about our kids. Talk about profiles of learning. We had them, especially those of us who taught general music classes. We initiated the idea of having junior high choral festivals held every spring at the old vocational high school in downtown Minneapolis. I'm sure this experience gave me the confidence to organize the ACDA junior high choral festivals, now called Mpls. The same support received from our Thursday afternoon gatherings is found at ACDA events, notably the summer dialogue sessions. Chatting with your colleagues, even skipping some of the sessions, is a valuable resource for some of you. Giving scholarships to attend summer dialogue is a result of the FMC Endowment Fund Committee's planning, and I'm pleased to be a member of that committee. Teaching music is like playing in a jazz band. What's the basic element of jazz? Improvisation, right. This is a metaphor for the kind of leadership inherent in teaching. There's a need to improvise almost daily, depending on who just had a fight out in the hall, the who said, she said, he said disruption, or just the raging hormones of teenagers that can change the classroom atmosphere. Another simile is the need to adjust to each other, leader and followers. A choir director not only balances the sound, but the tone of the classroom by using creative teaching methods. This is especially needed on the middle school level. Once the kids are with you, they'll be just open to just about anything you ask of them. People say you must be a saint to teach junior high. I believe there already is a St. Catherine. I think it is more a skill you develop by listening to kids, demanding their best, assuring them you think they are wonderful, and displaying a sense of humor, especially being able to appreciate junior high humor. You might call it teaching with an attitude of restrained exuberance. That reminds me of returning home from an ACDA convention session on vocal warm-ups. At the next rehearsal, my choirs would groan when they had to make a sound like a siren or blow a pinpoint of air on your finger. Oh no, she's been to another music convention. Very likeness to a jazz group means you listen as carefully to their body language as to their sound, that you are supportive of them individually and as a group. You keep everyone engaged, sensitive to their moods, and that you are willing to risk trying out new ideas. When I returned to teaching, I was 42 years old. Instead of the elementary classroom teachers doing the music, the Minneapolis School District began hiring music specialists. The music classroom changed dramatically. No more folk songs, teacher. Give us rock and roll. The Beatles were touring America, and young girls screamed through all their songs. The thing that saved me was having a son in the 8th grade who played guitar. Jack kept his old mother on her toes and became a sounding board for motivating my students. I learned to use the new music as a teaching device. Not many years later, the pop rock genre was a staple of composers of junior high music. In my opinion, this became a step backward in choosing quality music for our choirs. A balance of musical styles is necessary for music literacy and informed appreciation. Do you know who the experts say had the most influence on music in the 20th century?
Bob Dylan?
No, Elvis Presley. I was fortunate to teach during years of administrative support for innovative teaching. One year I taught a blended music English class with another English teacher, of course. The highlight of the year was producing an original play called EPO. That's hope spelled backward. We engaged the help of university students who needed a project. The script was written by Barry Morrow, now a successful Hollywood screenwriter. He wrote Rain Man. And the music was composed by my son, Jack Doepke, now a video specialist. And we were asked to perform it at the MENC convention in St. Paul that spring. Jack still helps me with projects, the latest being PowerPoint presentations for another generation. Jack, could you stand? And Carol, as well. Before I begin, my booster from all time is my husband, Hank, who's sitting right there between. Another memorable experience was being named secondary resource teacher for Minneapolis schools. During this time, I produced several slideshows for classroom use. I wrote a monthly newsletter as a resource for our teachers, and taped and edited a weekly radio show for KBEM, the district's radio station, called From the Music Suite. How sweet it was. ACDA has provided me with life-changing experiences. I have acquired skills, yes, even stuffing envelopes for the FMC committee at Roger Tenney's condo. It serves a mighty good lunch. And made wonderful friends. My passion for this organization is inspired by what we stand for and what we actively work on. In summary, it is understanding our past with Melius Chrtistiansen to emulate. It is respect for our future as we dream and grow. It is regard for the present, living with the joy of music. Thanks.